Hello and welcome to the Full Fat Podcast. This is now our about fourth attempt at an introduction after Matt decided to disrupt all of the others.
Well, I thought it would be funny to cut Chris up because he agreed to introduce it this week. I thought I'd do, you know what Will Mackenzie does in episode 1 of series 3 of The In-Betweeners when that guy's trying to talk and he starts going, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba.
It didn't really work in the ground.
Well, it flabbergasted you, didn't it?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It didn't work, did it? It didn't lead into the podcast in any meaningful...
I thought we'd back and forth, wing it like we usually do.
What do you mean? I normally highly plan out these, podcasts and know exactly what I'm going to say going in straight away. So how have you been, Matt? What have you been up to this week?
I've been terrific. I've got a bit of a sore throat. I feel like every week I've said I'm ill, but
yeah, I think pretty much every week one of us has been ill.
Yeah.
No one cares, do they? No one cares.
No one cares. I wouldn't care. Some guy on the internet from the UK.
Did you see that guy today who was just like, blah, 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 I'm British, I write about sci-fi.
No.
Ha ha, yeah, he commented on our channel. It was something like that. It was like literally like, blah, 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 I'm a British man and I don't know what I'm talking about or something. I was like, fair, that is an accurate description of the channel.
That's a great rec.
It's not
inaccurate, is it?
Oh, well, I guess
we don't know what we're talking about. We just pretend we do, and hopefully fool enough people to make a living out of it.
That's true. And so, is there anything else you'd like?
You got me already. There's my throat gone.
So this week, as the Spice Girls once famously said, 2 have become free on the Full Fat Podcast, haven't they?
And as Kanye West once said, no one man should have all that power, but we're with a powerful man today, aren't we? A Mr. Keith Andrew.
I'm expecting you to talk about somebody else. Are they talking about me?
Hang on. We agreed we'd do some fanfare before you. All right, okay.
That's very impressive. Contractually obliged to do that.
That was you like coming down, and then there was like lights, VFX.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
that's
like
easy,
in X Factor.
Easy to do on a podcast, that, yeah.
You just got to imagine,
Yeah, it's a bit like a radio drama, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like one of those big Finnish Doctor Who audios.
Look out, Keith's got a gun!
Wow.
Wait, that's what you'd say if Keith pulled out a gun and shot me?
Well,
wow.
Yeah, I'd be surprised.
You wouldn't even beg for your life like a dog.
Yeah, like the dog
I know you,
that
Chris
I am.
will say. I know what you do.
I'd jump out the window.
Yes, I'd recommend you avoid the gun rather than audibly saying he's got a gun. Like,
Yeah,
I'm assuming if I got a gun, this podcast isn't going to go out. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the focus wouldn't be on, wow, anyway, so Keith. Would you like to introduce yourself, Keith? I feel like we've introduced you.
I don't know, how do you want me to introduce myself? Like, random person you've invited to be on the podcast. Long time viewer, I guess.
Oh.
First-time contributor. Yeah, I mean, we met you on Twitter, didn't we?
Yeah, that's how all great meetings take place these days. Twitter.
It is, and it's always a place of measured thought and healthy discussion.
I live for Twitter. I've got a tick on Twitter, so when Twitter stops being important, I'll stop being important. So,
he's got a tick and we don't. Thinks he's better than us.
I'll have a word. I'll see what I can do.
How did you get that tick?
It's people you know, just people you know.
That's really annoying.
No, I did the application form. We could do that back in the day. So.
Oh, they only give it out because it's a bit like. I remember on Instagram with the blue tick now, it's like a nightmare, isn't it? You have to prove like you exist, and then if you're like a company, there's no way to prove you like exist as a person. It's a very complicated, arduous process that I don't think anyone listening to this right now really cares about.
It's easy for me to prove like this. It's just like I don't want to.
No, but it's just like, it's just one of those annoying administration things that, again, no one is listening to this podcast thinking, I'm going to come in here today for social media top tips.
Well, maybe the head of Instagram's listening, and he's like,
I'd quite like a tick on Instagram, actually. So, yeah, if he or she is listening, then...
I think you have to give them your passport and things like that.
I've tried with Instagram. They're just not as easy as Twitter was. So.
Yeah, they have to give you your passport,
your
credit card details.
It's Mark Zuckerberg. We need everything you've ever done, and then we'll give you this vanity thing. I got locked out of my Facebook recently, and they kept pushing me for them to send me use a form of photo ID to re-get into my account, and I was just not having it. And after I think it was about 30 consecutive tries of using the password recovery thing, it finally let me in, but it kept being like, we'll need further information from you. And I was like,
is that real? That sounds dodgy.
That is a thing. Definitely. Because you can fast protect your account, so this doesn't happen again, this thing that we're inconvenienced with you with. And they're like, it's all done. I'd log in again. It'd be like, oops, you've been logged out again. And then it would just this endless cycle, which was so frustrating because I was like, you're not having my passport, Zuckerberg. Like, that's not happening.
Alternatively, you can send us a dick pic. And you didn't want to do that, did you?
No, I did not. Strangely enough, I did not want to send Mark Zuckerberg my penis.
How does Mark know that it's me via that picture?
He knows.
That would be more concerning, wouldn't it?
Because he got into all your private pictures.
Yeah. And but it'd be the thought that like he would have a big bank of them.
See what I did there? I confirmed that Chris has sent a dick pic at least once in his life because he confirmed that he's got a private stash.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Mark Zuckerberg, if the form of authentication to Facebook was to send a picture of your penis, then clearly Facebook would be a huge archive of penises. I was not saying that Facebook.
There's a huge
has
archive of
my
penises. You see my friends list.
It'd make you remember your password, though. You wouldn't forget it if that was the way in. You'd be like, I'm writing this down.
Zip your trousers.
Yeah. You write your password. No, I'm not getting it.
You'd get an arty angle, wouldn't you? You'd make sure it's the best
Good lighting.
nude you've ever taken. Yeah.
God, you sad man.
Well, if it's for my
What's your
identification.
password? Why does it need to be arty? It's not like my password to my Facebook is like a boot de soup or something, just to sound really pretentious.
Actually, no, I take a lot of time and care and consideration with everything I do, Chris. You've known me for a few years now. Would you not agree with that?
No. I would say you more take a wrecking ball to a house. Those things you do.
Yeah, Chris is like the needle, I'm the hammer. You're the sickle.
I'm the ice cream, you're the cone. No one will get that. There was a rapper at my school who once spit that bar. And, it was
I am
impressive.
the ice cream, you are the cone.
Yeah, about his best friend. It's good, but it's good. It's good bars.
What does that
Good bars.
mean? I'm trying
Well,
to
that's what we've been trying to decipher. Because like, I suppose it means you support each other, but only I guess in that relationship, only the cone supports the ice cream. Like the ice cream doesn't really support.
It seems
the cone.
romantic.
Yeah, I was going to
because
say
the
it
ice cream
seems
would go in the cone.
a little bit. You're melting on top of the cone.
Yeah,
That's the kind of thing I might
doesn't
say on a
work,
date.
does it?
I feel like now if you were to do a cover, you could make like a sexy song. Like, I am the ice cream, you're the cone. No?
No one can see that you raised your eyebrows repeatedly doing that, which made it not sexy.
You seemed entranced.
Well, it's more like you did the Jim Carrey eyebrow raise. And I was like, wow, it's like I'm back in like about 1994.
Jim Carrey, segue, Keith.
Oh, that's very slick. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
You also saw the Hedgehog movie, didn't you?
I did. Have you talked about this before? Or have you not
No,
talked
we
about
haven't. I actually saw it before we recorded the last episode, but we just forgot to mention it, didn't we? We had
Yeah,
a lot to cover.
I didn't know you'd want. You didn't even mention it to me. I wanted to know what it was
Well, I
like.
don't need to tell you all my Sonic-related business, do I?
No. What's your favourite Sonic game?
I'm actually not a big Sonic guy. I had the... Is it Sonic and the Ten Rings or something on Wii?
Oh, no.
Which supposedly isn't good.
Am I right in thinking you're a huge Sonic fan?
I'm a massive Sonic fan, but with the caveat that I'm a massive 2D Sonic fan, and I think
it's one
anything
of those.
remotely 3D is just trash. So
you don't like Sonic R, the incredible Sonic racing game for Sega Saturn?
That's on the borderline of being okay because it's retro, but
Widely acclaimed for having one of the worst video game soundtracks of all time. Even though I think today it still slaps.
some people like that. Some people
Yeah.
really like it. Yeah,
Could you do an impression of it, Chris?
Yeah, they got a song called "Can You Feel the Sunshine?"
Yeah.
And it's got like this little thing at the beginning that goes. That's Rainbow Road.
Can you
but it's like,
feel the sunshine?
Does it?
I am the ice cream, you are the cone.
It's really weird
We're
'cause-
on the beach.
It's really weird because the initial tune you actually did was note for note.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's "Can
Yeah,
you
that
feel
was-
the sunshine?
No way.
That
Does
was
it
pretty spot on.
brighten up your day?"
Does that mean that I'm a genius? Or it could be both. Could be
I think
both. It's all on the table, guys. Could it be that was the first jingle that they also came up with in the development room and then they just went with it?
If I tell you that all the music sounds like someone in a meeting room went, "Hey, dance music's cool. Let's just do a load of like pop songs that don't have anything to do with the game," that's pretty much the Sonic R soundtrack.
Speaking of meeting rooms, it's May 24th, 2014, and someone at Sega has just seen X-Men Days of Future Past at the cinema over the weekend. They've come in Monday morning, they've gone, we need to greenlight the Sonic movie ASAP.
Yeah, I see that. I see where you're going. Yeah.
It is, right? It's all the
I
Quicksilver stuff.
hadn't thought about that until you. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah.
It right down to a T of like, oh, he needs to stop all these people at once, and then we'll do the pop song, and then when it resets, and also his little abode. It's got like the ping pong he's playing with himself.
Yeah.
That's literally Quicksilver.
Yeah.
I feel like they definitely Well, I would say rush it into production. It's been a few years,
that makes sense because I really like Days of Future Past. So
do I.
This plays into, and I'm not a fan of superhero movies at all, which is probably
we know. Whenever we speak about the MCU, you're right on our tail.
As I always say, I'm not big on someone having to get dressed into a special outfit before they save your life. Just like come and catch me as I fall out of my apartment building. Don't dress up as a bat or whatever first. Like, I don't care.
But does that count for any uniforms? It's like if a man comes out of his ambulance to save you, and you're like, well, hang on a minute, is that a uniform? I say, fuck this.
You got to
go back,
first.
turn around.
Yeah, maybe I might let them off, but
that's only when it benefits you.
Yeah, but I really did enjoy Days of Future Past. It's a good film. I liked it as a film. I was taken reluctantly to see it. In similar ways to, I did suggest going to see Sonic, but in the way that I was quite nervous about it because that little blue man, not really a man, means a lot to me.
The clue's in his title, isn't it?
Yeah.
What he is.
Yeah. Well, he's not really a hedgehog, is he?
You can reach over and punch me if you want.
The clue, he's about as much related to a hedgehog as I am. Like, but I was wary, because I don't like Sonic talking. Like, he shouldn't have a voice, but okay, it's a film. So I
didn't know that he didn't have a voice.
Well, yeah, in the original games, like, we're talking like 1991, that technology was beyond. It's only when they got to 3D that he suddenly developed this annoying American voice. But I think that is one of the really interesting things about that film, is they've managed to take a character who, whenever he has been voiced, like in cartoons and other cartoons, I'm just going to say cartoons again, he's always quite obnoxious and annoying. And you kind of, that 90s vibe of being cool, of being a bit of a dick. Whereas in this film, he's still a little bit cocky.
He's charming, isn't he?
But he's endearing as well. You kind of like him, which is what impressed me more than anything else, because I kind of thought, this is why I don't like him talking, because usually he's just a bit of an arsehole that you wouldn't hang around with. And even though he's still a bit cocky, like the kind of Quicksilver stuff, like all of those scenes are designed to kind of take the piss, really. He's kind of just showing, I could do this with my eyes closed, kind of thing. But you still come out of it thinking, I'm kind of rooting for him. I want him to.
I thought he was one of the strengths of the film. For me, it was kind of let down by sort of everything else around it. Bar Jim Carrey, who was on top form. There's actually a scene, full spoilers by the way, where he's kind of like downloading something to do with one of Sonic's hairs, and Kerry's just dancing. He's just having a great time in his lab, and there's like a CGI background of like a dinosaur chasing him. He's just having a ball. One of the best scenes of the movie. But yeah, I just thought everything else around it, like James Marsden as like the cop, I thought pretty much everything he said was woeful and quite cringy. He's
Mr. Everyman, isn't he? He's just...
Yeah, but it's just like everything he said was kind of like a zinger, do you know what I mean? Or like it was like played like a zinger. And it was the same with his... was it his wife or his girlfriend? I'm not sure if they tied the knot.
I don't know.
His partner.
He must be... I don't know.
Do you think they also got the casting for James... See, look, I've cracked this case wide open. So they saw Days of Future Past, and then they watched all the other X-Men movies, and they saw James Marsden, and that's why they cast him. Pathetic, really, isn't it?
I have to ask, how fast does he go? Would you say he went fast?
Oh, well, at one point he goes so fast that he like sends out like an EMP.
Yeah.
And then like all the there's no electricity.
It's kind of crucial that. That's like...
People definitely would have died. There would have been people on operating tables.
He goes past the speed camera at the start and he's doing 300 miles per hour. Is it miles in America? It would be miles per hour. Was it kilometers?
I remember. Why'd you ask, Chris?
Oh, I remember in the original trailer they said "gotta go fast," and it made me laugh because that's the Sonic meme, isn't it? That he goes fast. Does he actually say that in the film at any point? Because in the original,
I couldn't tell you honestly.
In the original trailer, it's him led down. He goes "gotta go fast," and then he speeds off.
Actually, since you're such a Sonic fan, I've always had this question.
Okay,
is Tails just infinitely better? Because he can fly and he's the same speed, isn't he?
He's not quite as fast.
Oh, that's how they do it.
Not quite as fast, yeah, and. He's quite annoying, and I'm hoping that he's obviously, without spoilers, like he appears at the end of this film, like he's obviously going to be in the second one.
So if anyone, I just did a shocked face, fuck me. Might as well not see it now.
Chris, your acting's come a long way from when I knew you at uni. It's still shit, but it's come a long way.
His role in the cartoons back in the day was a bit like a bad Doctor Who assistant in that he was just there to get Sonic in trouble. And his role in the games was always to like press A to do this, press B, and just no character whatsoever, just really annoying and just like, hey Sonic, let's go over here. And you
But
want.
he is better, isn't he? He can fly.
He can fly, but he can't run as fast.
We all know the MVP is Shadow the Hedgehog. That is the
He's
best.
got a gun,
No,
hasn't he?
it's gone by that stage. You see, that's when you get to that point. There are a few things in this world, like you two could probably talk about Marvel and get really like what is canon, what is like important stuff. With Sonic, it all ends in 1994 with Sonic and Knuckles until Sonic Mania the other year, which was 2D and absolutely bloody amazing. And so
is
Shadow
Knuckles
is just...
canon then? Is that
Knuckles is canon, yeah.
And is Knuckles fast as well?
Knuckles isn't quite as fast, but
He's the Echidna,
he
isn't
can
he?
he can climb walls, he can glide, and he can smash things open.
So he's like the fighter, he's the brawler.
Yeah, he's like the.
I have to ask if you played the infamous, I think it's 2006 Sonic on Xbox 360.
Yeah, I have.
Because I've played a demo. You know when you used to get those game magazines and they would come with like, here's 10 demos on a thing. I played it on one of those demos and it was truly awful, the demo.
It's one of the most broken games ever released, really. It's kind of notoriously bugged to hell.
Has that one got Shadow in it as well? Hasn't it got a white hedgehog with telekinesis?
Yes, yeah.
I know way too much about Sonic for someone who doesn't know anything about it.
Female hedgehog as well, isn't there?
Amy, yeah. She's canon because she's in Sonic CD, so
which hedgehogs are canon, which aren't?
Sonic... The only characters are Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, Amy as well counts because she's on Sonic CD, so that kind of counts.
And then Shadow doesn't count.
Shadow doesn't count.
The TK one doesn't count.
Anyone where they just start talking, they just don't count. Like.
Oh, and in the movie, there's that owl mentor.
Yeah, no. See, that's what worried me because in the first few minutes, you've got what is this owl that brought him up? What? There's no owl. Like that doesn't exist. But after that. And I was expecting the worst because that's what I was expecting from it. A load of like Disney-fied nonsense that doesn't relate in anything to the character that I grew up like adoring.
Yeah.
And that's rubbish. They could just cut that out. That could be anything.
And did you like Robotnik?
I didn't until I liked Jim Carrey as Robotnik, but it was bothering me until obviously at the end he's lost his hair and is clearly going to put on a bit of weight, which is what he needs to do. And he does call him Robotnik as well, which is also important because...
What, not Eggman?
Yeah, Eggman was always the Japanese name, which then they adopted like when it went 3D. Whereas if you're American or European, he was Robotnik.
He calls him Eggman at one point because he's basically got a load of drones.
Yeah, they're all kind of eggs.
And then he's like, "Oh, you're an Eggman." I think it was something like that.
It's a good way of justifying it, actually. Yeah. That kind of then also retcons it a bit, make me go, oh, "Okay, now I accept it."
There was a fan movie for Pac-Man, which has an incredible line of dialogue like that, but it's a lot less nuanced, which just literally has them talk about a man who went into the maze to fight the ghost. He's looked like some kind of man, some kind of Pac-Man, which makes no sense and has nothing to do with anything that he was doing, but it's always stuck with me.
Did you know that originally Pac-Man was going to be called Puck-Man, but they were worried that they'd defame it and make it Puck-Man? Yeah.
Is that true?
It's in Scott Pilgrim. I thought you would have known that. You not seen it?
I see Scott Pilgrim like once.
Oh right, yeah, when he's on like the dance mat thing.
Oh,
that sounds true.
Yeah,
that's like a pub quiz question.
Would you like to know an interesting Googled fact about the 2006 Sonic the Hedgehog video game?
Before you say that, could I just get some clarification on this? Did you say it was a Googled fact because last week when you pulled out a fact, I then called you out on you Googling it?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Continue.
So in 2010, Sega delisted, so like they were like, we're not sending it out anymore, the 2006 Sonic game, from retailers, along with all other Sonic games which had below average Metacritic scores.
It's quite a few.
So that the legacy of Sonic would be positive.
Yeah.
That's
How
bizarre.
odd is that? That is so weird.
Cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Well, that's like E.T. being buried in the desert by Atari, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's really bizarre. I just think that's a really bizarre PR move. So, like, any really panned Sonic game, in theory, can only be found secondhand now.
There are quite a few of them as well. There are quite a lot of bad Sonic games. So
I always remember Sonic. Was it Sonic Heroes, which came out about 2004? I always remember that being quite good on the GameCube.
Yeah, it was good concept. Like I didn't. The first level's really good, and then it's like they went, oh, we don't have enough time.
That's the one where there's three of you.
Yeah, you kind of switch.
And you work and switch in between.
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoyed that game.
The concept's good, and it sold bajillions, but they never. You'd think Sega have no like. They're not capitalist at all. They don't like get like, okay, this has been a hit. Let's make another one of these. They kind of go, okay, we've done that.
Unless
what
it's at the Olympic Games.
Well, yeah. Let's
keep churning those
They're quite good. They're quite good though. They're quite good.
Have you seen the news about the new Sonic at the Olympic Games that Mario's just not in it?
Why did that happen?
I don't know. Maybe I don't even think it would be a dispute. Maybe they've just gone, oh nah, which is really weird because like the response to that was just people doing memes of Mario looking sad and stuff.
Well, Chris likes to wreck me for Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Please tell this anecdote. Please,
Right.
it's
It must have been 2008 or 2007. Obviously, Mario Galaxy came out, and also Mario and Sonic. And I asked my mum for Mario Galaxy, and then you know that bit in The Simpsons where he's like, "You got me," and then rips it off, and then I got Lee Carvello's putting challenge in the form of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and I was like, "Oh no!"
I just love the image of you being like opening it, probably seeing Mario's face first, going,
Yeah.
"Oh my."
You need to be more specific when you make a
Thanks,
Christmas list. Really,
Mom.
you need to.
Was it any
I
good?
was very specific. I mean, I should say, lucky to get video games at
I was
Christmas
going to
at
say
all.
there were
Very
starving
grateful.
children. That,
Exactly. Yeah. It
But
was-
at the same time, that is quite a funny anecdote.
yeah, I'm grateful, but at the same time,
It's a good
God's
Christmas
sake, Mum.
game though. That's a good get your gran up to have a whack at kind of game.
1 year, my mum with my grandma put on Bruno because she had heard it was a delightful comedy, and apparently I walked out the room after it had finished. I was still kind of laughing because it was kind of like crude at the time, and my nan apparently turned to my mum and said, "I've never been more embarrassed to be in a room with my grandson."
The thing I always remember from Bruno, because I saw it at the cinema, but I saw it in. Do you remember how? So they had the Bruno the 18, and then they actually released a Bruno with a 15 classification with different stuff.
I do remember that, yeah.
So I watched the 15 cut. I went with one of my friends at the time, and I always remember.
You weren't
thinking,
15 at the time, were you?
I think I was 14 when Bruno came out, 2009.
Right.
You're admitting
So
that.
I went underage to see Bruno. And I went in, and I always remember very vividly, they kept in the bit where the penis points at the screen and starts talking. And I was like, is this the 15 version? Like, I didn't, sneak in. Like, I bought the tickets at the stand. Yeah, so it wasn't like I, paid for another film, because otherwise I would have gone and seen the 18 one. Like, I paid for
mental.
15.
Me and, Harry Bagg, he was our first guest on the podcast, we tried to sneak into Watchmen, and we basically watched half of, this dog movie, and then we snuck into Watchmen, and we were like, oh my god, we did it, and, we got, 5 minutes into the movie, and he's like, staff came up and were like, get out. Yeah, and I was really worried, because it was my local cinema for, a week afterwards, that, I'd go back, basically, and they'd be like, no, you can't come in anymore, and I'm like, no.
What, so were they really Were they really just the cliche of shine a light on you?
The full work, because obviously, if they get caught letting minors into the cinemas, that's bad news for them.
What was the dog movie?
It's something like he's going on a road trip to get back. Oh, Bolt, that was it.
Oh, the Disney movie.
Yeah, I'm
It's
pretty
supposed to be
sure
good,
it's that.
That's supposed to be good.
Well, not when you want to
Did
see
they not- did they-
Rorschach punching Ozymandias.
Did they not let you go and see that one, or you just had to leave?
No, we got a ticket for Bolt. We saw 20 minutes of Bolt.
But they didn't let you back in to see the rest of it.
No. Then we just kept walking in silence, and then when we got to the door, they were like, "Get out!"
Wait, they actually say "get out."
Yeah. I remember once Harry Bagg, his little cinema fiend. We snuck a load of treats into our coats, and then I had another coat on top, and we walked up to the ticket bit, and they were like, "Open up your coat," because they do that to the kids there. They're shits, really. And I opened up my first coat, and then literally in the movies, they were like, "Do you have anything else?" And I was like, "No." And then as soon as I said no, they all fell out the bottom of my coat onto the floor. The timing was pitch perfect.
Do you not feel like that's such a cliche? It's like
No, it was. Literally, the rest of the day we were going, that was in a movie. No.
I can't believe that happened to you.
No, I know. And they confiscated it all, and then I got it back after the screening.
Oh, that's nice.
I
That's
want my
actually quite
sweeties
nice.
now, don't I?
No, that's nice. They could have just taken your sweeties and eaten them.
There would have been hell to pay.
I can't believe you're admitting these scandalous things on the podcast.
I know.
Anyone's listening to this. You went to see
That's it,
15
innit?
when you were 14. No.
The feds are on their way.
Yeah. They're having a quiet night. They might just go.
What, you mean the workers of Cineworld just come knocking on my door from Cineworld Manchester? We've been tracking you down. I've been all like, thank you for listening to the podcast.
You know what? I'm so ballsy. I'm going to name the cinema. It's Cineworld Bexley Heath. Yeah. So if anyone from the staff's listening, yeah, I went into Kick-Ass and I was underage for that. So you couldn't stop me, could you?
You sound like Syndrome in The Incredibles.
I am Syndrome, your nemesis, and you got me monologuing. Continue, Chris. What were you saying before?
So, what has everyone else also watched?
That painful impression.
What else has everyone watched recently?
So we saw Sonic, didn't we? What would you give it out of?
I give it a 7 out of 10, and that's on the fact that I was going in expecting to give it a 1 out of 10. So I was pleasantly surprised. And I'd had the flu for a week, so I hadn't actually left the flat for like 7-8 days. So it was my first trip out. So
and
anything.
You chose to see Sonic.
I thought I have to see it. I can't not see it because it's a film about something that I care deeply about, and they'll have definitely ruined it. And the very fact that they didn't ruin it made me go, okay, yeah, I like this. There's some funny moments in it, and like there's some parts in it that clearly aimed at like the parents, like James Marden's wife's sister, his sister-in-law, has a lot of funny lines in it.
Oh yeah, I did enjoy that. Yeah,
she's like tied up on a chair at the end, and her kid's running around. She says, "At least put the Fitbit on or something if you're going to do that." She's just got a lot of moments like that. You kind of go, "Yeah, they kind of thought about this," which makes me. I can't really understand how they could have designed the original CGI Sonic, which was awful, absolutely awful. How they could have got that beat so wrong when clearly, apart from the owl nonsense, someone at Paramount, knew the IP and understood what they could do to make it. They were so on beat, I think, with the rest of it that it is quite weird to think of the design wise. They just went, that's Sonic.
I think what they were trying to do is go for. It's an actual alien creature, a bit like Rocket Raccoon Guardians. But it looks like a hedgehog by our standards.
Because that's quite weird, because he's constantly referred to as an alien, which I think is I think they're making an acceptance point. Anyway, I think like the cheesy part of the film is, we're all the same. It doesn't matter where you come from, etc. But it's weird because I've never thought about Sonic as being an alien, even though he's from a different planet in the games.
Oh, he is.
He's from the planet Mobius, so he's like clearly an alien. Like,
oh, that's cool. I thought they just made that for the movie.
No, he's from. That's what always annoyed me about like the 3D games. Is like put him in a city and stuff. You think he doesn't live in San Francisco. Like he's from a planet with green hills and.
That was my problem with the film, though. Is I kind of wanted them to go to all these crazy worlds, and the budget didn't allow it.
Well, we'll see with the second one, won't we?
Yeah, there definitely will be a second one.
It surprised me because doesn't Jim Carrey have an aversion to sequels? That's why the Mask sequel doesn't have him in and stuff, and he's gone.
He said he'd do another one.
I was about to say it's out. I think it's against character for Jim Carrey to say he'll do a sequel, and he was just blatantly like, "Yeah, I really enjoyed doing it. I'll do it again." And I'm pretty sure Jim Carrey is like infamously like, "I don't do sequels" kind of actor.
Yeah, but to be fair, if I got to see the things Jim Carrey was doing in this movie, he's just having a ball, isn't he? He's fucking around. A lot of fun. Yeah, and do you want to do it again for a truckload of money?
I just can't believe. I honestly can't believe how much this movie has come along from that trailer.
Yeah.
Well, it goes a long way when you listen to fans, doesn't it? And you change something that
it really
people
does.
Don't like.
It was good. Yeah, it was goodwill. Just the fact they did that.
Yeah, and the second trailer was way better than the first trailer. Also, I did like his commitment to liking all things pop culture to do with like being fast or speed, including the movie Speed. There was something else, wasn't there? Oh, he reads Flash comics. They should have kept going with it. It should have been like Fast and Furious. Yeah,
that's incredible. We also recently watched Parasite, didn't we?
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Very similar film. Yeah, they're very quite.
None of us together.
Yeah, no, all
separately.
How long ago did you watch it, Keith?
I mean, if we're admitting illegal things on this podcast, I might have watched it in a slightly dodgy way before Christmas. When did I see it?
When you say a dodgy way, please clarify for the cause.
Like just a random website.
Oh, right, okay. It does sound like you say it fell off the back of a truck.
No. Just some random Chinese website that maybe has these things on. And I hadn't. I think because I watched it. It was before Christmas or after Christmas. It was definitely before this year.
You're only incriminating yourself further.
Yeah. I'm going to go see it again. To be honest, I'm going to go to the cinema. I haven't been able to. It's booked. Like you can't get a seat. But I kind of, because I saw it before. Obviously, it was nominated, so I was aware. That was why I was watching it. To be honest, I was trying to go through the Oscar nominees. So I watched it, thinking, okay, well, I'll give it a go. But I wasn't aware of the hype like behind it, which I think was quite a good way to see it, because now anyone going to see it has got a kind of level of expectation. Whereas I had no idea what it was at all, other than it was South Korean. So I think it was quite a good way to watch.
We talked 2 weeks ago on the podcast about how much I thought Moonlight was probably the best picture winner for a long time. And I think for me, Parasite is a bit like my experience of watching Moonlight. I've just been like, this is such a potent, well-made, powerful film. I think what surprised me was how accessible it was.
Yeah.
I knew it would be good, but I thought it'd be good in kind of like an arty way. Like there was a lot of people kind of buzzing about it on the internet that were saying, you know, it talks about all these great themes and it does all these, and it does.
It's because there's a stigma around what an Oscar Best Picture is and what
Completely.
the best film of the year is, isn't there?
Completely.
But I think this absolutely is both, isn't it? It's thrilling from start to finish.
It's phenomenal. It's
takes
a
you
popcorn
places
movie.
you don't expect. Yeah. As well, like as you were saying earlier, talking about some of the things they sort of seed in, like you were saying, how The Rock, they keep referring it to being a metaphor or being metaphorical, and then someone gets beaten over the head with it, don't they, at the end?
So it's like beating over the head with a metaphor. There's so many of them. Like the most obvious one is in the car. When Mr. Park says, you know, I love my maid, but she eats enough for 2 people. But actually, rewatching and rereading the screenplay, there's so many instances of that come up in the film. Those kind of like little Chekhov's guns that then fire. One of my favourites is when they're sat during the flood, and he says, you know, there is no plan. That's the issue with life. You can never plan for anything. And the son ultimately doesn't take on any of that because the reason that everything fails is because he tries to do a plan. He tries to eliminate. And at the end, he still doesn't learn his lesson.
He's planning
his
at the
first
end,
line
isn't
is,
he?
Dad, I've got a plan. And what I think is so brilliant about that is that the issue at the beginning is, you know, they're trying to fake it till you make it. And at the end, he says, I will go to university, I will get married, etc. But first, I'm going to make a lot of money. As if it was always that simple in the first place.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's like almost like you want characters to grow and develop, but really what happens is that some of the characters grow and develop, and some of them just don't learn their lesson. And you know, they'll be in this eternal struggle forever of trying to better themselves.
Well, I'm sure everything that could possibly have been said on it has been said on the internet already. But I just loved how it's about we don't fight rich people, we fight each other to the bitter end. And even at the very end, like he's not blaming the rich family, is he? He's just thinking, "Oh, don't worry, Dad. I'll be like them, and then it'll all get sorted." And that's what they take away from it.
Exactly.
After his sister's dead.
It does thematically have a similar themes to things like Knives Out, doesn't it? There's been a lot of blockbusters knocking about, it's not a blockbuster, but there's been a lot of like popular films knocking about that are about like kind of fuck
excess
the rich.
And yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. I've been a bit on a bit of a Bong Joon-ho streak because I saw Mother a few weeks ago. Have you seen that, Keith?
No, I've not. It's just now on the list of, obviously when you see a good film, you then think I should watch the other stuff. But then I'm always, it's like when you hear a good album and you think I should go and listen to some of their earlier stuff, and then you think, but I'll be disappointed, and then will that undermine my liking of the thing that I've decided I already like?
Yeah.
I'm a glass half empty kind of person, so my natural inclination is to assume, well, I won't like anything else they've done. So I haven't.
I'm like that with music, less so films. Like I'll hear a song I like, and then I won't listen to anything else. I'll just play that song on repeat.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Yeah, Chris hates it.
I just wish you could albums as a former chance.
It's weird. I find it like I'm quite musically stunted. Like if I like something when I hear it, or if you show me something, I'll add it to sort of like my repertoire. But I just find the idea of sitting there and listening to an album, it's not a waste of time. It's a complete art, but in my head, I'm like, I'll just sat here and listen to an album for an hour. It's a waste of time. Whereas I don't feel like that about like watching TV or films.
It's weird to me because music was always kind of, for me, the thing that I would do first. So it was like, for me, I'll listen to this album. And then, you know, I got more and more into, I've always been into TV and movies, but music was always first and foremost my biggest interest. So it's just interesting that we're friends to an extent because I listen to a lot of albums in my week and still do, you know, and like...
Well, that's not really where we cross over at all, is it?
Not at all, no.
I just heard that as we're friends to an extent. Like,
we're very matter of fact.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's a line, you know.
No, but yeah, I like a good jingle like The Next Man. But
good boogie.
Yeah, good boogie, but I just...
I just put on a Now album. You know, it's got all the hits. You know.
They still make those?
I don't know. I think they technically do. Yeah, I think
Really?
I think they have playlists as well on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff that you can get like Now, kind of compartmentalized. I don't know how they make money from it, but
fantastic. Well, I'll use that to be part of the zeitgeist, part of pop culture.
Yeah, that's like when someone says, you know, that's that Alan Partridge joke. What's your favourite Beatles album? The Best of the Beatles. Like, it would be.
It's a bloody good album, that.
It's the best one. That's Alan Partridge, isn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, he says he gets asked. He's like, "I bloody love the Beatles," and they're like, "What's your favourite album?" He's like, "Best of the Beatles, can't beat it."
No, but I mean, was that other podcast?
I think
Yeah, that's his quote.
Oh, okay. No, I was thinking
we were-
of the impression.
Yeah, we were mugging you off.
Oh,
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Listen. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, Parasite's good though. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I'm sorry. I don't remember why you got him on.
Well, speaking of parasites, which are things that latch onto other things, in a way are not the Cybermen a kind of parasite because they latch onto humans and depend upon them?
You know what you could have said?
What?
Speaking of things we all enjoyed, tonight's episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I could have done that, but I feel like I consistently do terrible segues, so I want to keep. So, what did everyone think of tonight's episode of Doctor Who?
Well, Keith, since you're a guest,
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, go on. Far away.
Yeah, I think I said to both of you at the very end that it's one of those first parts of a two-part finale where I'm left with more questions than when I started, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because the 50 minutes was engaging, so it's not as if it's just thrown a load of things that I don't care about. It was clever in making me bothered about people who you've only seen on screen for, all of the other cast of characters that aren't the main characters. Like, in the first 10 minutes, you get a couple of deaths, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm actually a little bit sad about that. That's kind of quite sad, which is a talent that I don't think was necessarily evident in the previous series, where, well, hardly anyone died anyway. Like, the threat level was low, and just the kind of, apart from like the standout characters like Rose or whatever, you kind of you weren't really that bothered. I'd say until Resolution, when then you kind of get bothered again. But yeah, this week was unsatisfying in that I really now want to know what's happened.
It's kind of hard to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing was kind of revealed in it that has satisfied any of the queries I had before. But at the same time, the fact that I care and want to know is a sign that I'm bothered.
Yeah,
like, it was good. I
think that's the thing. Like it had that kind of. I don't think it's close to this quality, but it had that kind of Stolen Earth thing where every single thing was just we're building. Yeah. And for better or for worse, that kept me gripped for 50 minutes, and I really enjoyed the episode. And we'll probably talk about the episode a bit more in depth, obviously, later. But as you kind of said, and it's the same feeling I got after Fugitive of the Jadoon, and to an extent in the Spyfall Part 2, is the question is, if this finale, if everything that we're building to is a crock of shit, then all these episodes retrospectively aren't as good.
I mean, this episode would still go down as it was well structured. It's exciting. There's tense moments. It would just be like it would be sullied, wouldn't it? There'd be something off about it.
It would matter less, yeah.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to rewatch it as much.
Yeah,
I think it's been I think it was a really fun episode. I also think
I really enjoyed it.
The decision to have a separate Cyberman carry over from last week, half Cyberman, the lone Cyberman, it does work really well just to an extent of like, we've got something to latch onto rather than these faceless drones. So there's a face, as you said last week, like there's a face to attach to the monsters.
They've given the Cybermen a Davros, not in the sense that, not in the same way Davros is kind of like the progenitor of the Daleks, but they've given a lone Cyberman qualities that are specific to that Cyberman.
Yeah.
Now you know that Cyberman is a character. And I thought he had some great material to work with. Like when he goes up to that boy and he's like, "No, I'm not going to kill you."
You tell everyone.
Yeah. And when he talks about like having that inner conflict, and that's why kind of like he sees himself as like the greatest Cyberman, why he's going to cause him to ascend.
They kind of almost break the fourth wall with that, because when he appears in the ship and talks to Jodie about it, he kind of, she kind of thinks she's challenging him by going, "You're not really a Cyberman, are you? Because you're showing all these qualities that aren't." And he kind of goes, "Yeah." And that's almost like the writer kind of going, that's like Chris Chibnall going, the only way I can make this well-used, overly used maybe enemy interesting is to actually give them some human qualities, because that's what makes you scared about them. If they're just faceless people that walk around saying delete all the time, it loses something.
Do we think that when you saw that scene where he was torturing a Cyberman, do you think he was making them more like him, like removing damaging them? Do you think that's his plan, to give them an anger?
Yeah, I think he's decided like having that conflict is what makes me better, or makes me quicker to make decisions and to lead.
I saw this come up on Twitter, which quite interested me. Is that I thought the whole reason someone said I thought the whole reason that the Cybermen couldn't time travel, which clearly they can to some extent, was because it was part of their weakness. They would never be able to invent something to that degree because they have no imagination. But I guess that's kind of resolved by the existence of this emotive, imaginative cyber commander.
Also, I imagine they're parasites. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
They just steal the technology.
Well, to the same extent that the Daleks didn't really develop anything. Davros developed all their tech.
Yeah.
I can buy that. I don't think that's necessarily, a flaw. I think it's quite interesting that they decided. Am I getting this right or am I wrong? The Cybermen have kind of won, but there's none of them left.
Yeah.
Is the idea, isn't it? And then
a Pyrrhic victory, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah.
So they've won, but there's not lots of them left, and so this is the final battle of the war. And this isn't an plot holes thing. I'm just curious why Whittaker would think, that's where we'll rock up to stop them, not just before they kill everyone.
I suppose that's crossing our own time stream, isn't it? And that's actually not. They're not there to stop the war per se, are they? They're there for the lone Cyberman. Yeah, because he's got the is it the Siberian? They're still calling it the Siberian, aren't they? Yeah, that is the thing from Nightmare in Silver, isn't it? That Matt Smith gets connected to.
I'm not sure. I believe the Siberian is one of those things where often it's said in passing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's called that in. I don't think it's called that in Nightmare in Silver. I think it's called you know what I mean? It's referred to as a Siberiad, but I don't think there is the Siberiad. I think it's a generic cyber name. I don't think the Siberiad that he's got in his head.
Dalek emperors.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's one of them where it's there's a Siberiad.
I think it's the best they've been utilised in a long time. Yeah. It's ironic that Moffat, who I think is a better writer than Chibnall, kept wasting them in a finale, and then we haven't even got to the end of this finale, but I feel last episode and this episode they've been used really creatively. They've been scary, and I've really enjoyed having them back. Actually, that's the first time I've said that in many years, many seasons.
Would you like to hear an interesting piece of information about the Cybermen?
Shoot.
Do you remember back about 11 months ago we did a video on the Cybermen called "Upgrading the Cybermen"? Do you remember that?
I do remember that, yes.
The BBC has just released a featurette about the decisions that they've taken to do with the Cybermen this year called Upgrading the Cybermen, which I find hilarious.
Well, Mr. BBC man, your day's numbered, eh? We're coming for you. You better lawyer up, arsehole. No, seriously, though, please don't copyright claim anything. It's all positive.
Also, it's purely a coincidence because it's the world's most obvious pun. But I just thought it was quite funny because in that video, we suggested that the best thing to do would be to add body horror elements to them. Check. Stop using them in massive waves and maybe just have one relentless Cyberman. Check. And now they've done that and released the video called Upgrading the Cybermen. I just
big fans, obviously.
It's pure coincidence. It's just quite
That's the only reason I've come on here, because I'm assuming someone important is listening. So.
But yeah, also Whittaker, again, I feel like we say this every week, but it needs to be said because last season she didn't have the darkness that I think is integral to the Doctor. She's been bringing it week after week. She's been taking charge. She's been challenging the companions. She's been challenged when she's even little things like when she's talking to those survivors and she's like, I don't need your life story.
Yeah, she just kind of cuts them off.
It's a bit Capaldi-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's that inhuman quality again, isn't it? It's kind of. But I mean, because you made a little noise when she was dark again, you had a little orgasm
during
about
watching it.
and I think that's true. I think her best moments this season have been that underlying kind of anger, and I kind of was sitting thinking about this on the way down, thinking about the first season, and she doesn't really display that at all in her first season. But yet I somehow still kind of imagined it was there, because what's interesting about her is that in previous times when the Doctor, something bad has happened, he lost Rose, he loses Donna, he loses Clara, he goes off and usually has a little bit of a sulk and kind of disappears. And with this, he loses, as far as this Doctor knows, Bill is dead. She doesn't know that. But yet what she decided to do was surround herself with people, 3 people, would have been 4 if Grace hadn't died, and kind of go, I'm actually going to have as many people around me almost to stop me actually indulging in what is probably inside of me. And obviously we've had a glimpse of that this season. I think you get a kind of glimpse of that in Can You Hear Me as well, where, you know, she just wants to, she's dropped them off in Sheffield and then she just kind of wants to leap forward to the next day.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really want to be on her own, which I think it hasn't come, I can't explain because it isn't in the first season at all that she does, but yet I still imagined it was kind of there, that this kind of happy-go-lucky attitude she has is almost painted on.
Yeah.
And if something goes, I suppose you get a little glimpse in the second story of the first season, which is just, the name is just dropped out.
Ghost Monument.
Yeah, when the TARDIS doesn't, you know, they just cut off and the TARDIS doesn't turn up, and she's going to give up, and you know, you get the little.
I think
we're not giving up,
saw
Doctor, are we?
that in it because I mean, I think Chris, you do agree with me. We always saw it as like she didn't really have the darkness there, but I like the idea that you've said.
I might be inventing it, but
it ties into the idea that Christian Will's got a longer plan, doesn't it? If you're saying that was always kind of waiting to come out, and now it's in the second season.
It always feels, and this almost sounds like I'm slating Whittaker's acting, because I'm totally not. But in that first season, when she's being really happy and chippy and kind of one-liners and all this stuff, it almost feels false that actually this is someone who is desperately trying to. God, I sound like such a deep twat. But desperately trying to cover up an actual kind of gaping that's inside, and so she's gone, I'm going to surround myself with as many people I can. They're going to distract me, and I won't have to think about it. And then obviously she's had to this season, because there at the very start of this season, you know, the Master turns up and drops all this stuff on Earth, so she's had to kind of indulge it a bit more this season. And I'm also wondering if there's a coincidence that pretty much all of the moments that she's had where she loses it this season have been with Ryan. Like, it's Ryan that she's kind of takes issue with in Spyfall, and you don't know me, you know, and it's Ryan in the last episode. She, you know, you want to sacrifice yourself, and I don't know whether that's just they've kind of gone, oh, that works, or whether there's an actual plot reason why it's Ryan that she's.
What was interesting with when they first announced the cast announcement, and they did those mini bios for all the characters, it said that Yaz was like forthright believed in the Doctor, and that Ryan would have more trepidation. That was in like his character bio. And I didn't really see that come into play other than in Ghost Monument when he runs around and with the gun. But like, you didn't really get that, but you've got that more this year. He's the one questioning all the time, going, like at the end of Can You Hear Me, you know, do you think this is it? Yeah. Is this our lives now? And I wonder whether that was almost like, again, like maybe as you say, it was part of this long-term kind of plan. I mean, I'm all for. I've never liked the Doctor as just sort of this miracle worker. I like the fact that they can get things wrong, that they have a kind of inner darkness.
Well, that's what makes them a character, isn't it? They need the arrogance and you know, the flaws there. I think it's very similar to. I mean, we kind of touched on this earlier before the podcast with Series 7, Matt Smith. They stripped all the darkness out of that character then, and he just became like a flanderized mess of what, you know, the greatness to my mind is in Series 5 when Smith, you know, he's a bit whimsical, and you know, sometimes you think he's playing the fool, but actually there's an intense darkness to him. And it's no coincidence that Series 7 and Series 11, you know, are kind of the weaker seasons, and the Doctors, they're not up to scratch. Also, single parters. I think we spoke about, didn't we? Yeah. Just not letting the stories have room to breathe. Yeah. It's been completely different this season. Even the one-parters have kind of fed into each other. Yeah. There's been things sort of ticking away in the background, and then like episode 5 set up everything that's now going to pay off next week with. I mean, the Roof Doctor's going to come back, isn't she?
Surely.
Even if she doesn't come back as an appearance,
it'll tie in on it somehow.
Yeah.
And
they've got to give us some kind of clue as to where she fits.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will make more angry YouTube videos for the next kind of 18 months, coming up with theories and getting very, very stressed about it. Like,
I got to say as well, I really like Sacha Dhawan as the Master in the opening story. But then when he popped up just briefly tonight, I was like, you know what, I really, really like this Master. Very quickly, he's made it his own. I really hope we keep getting stories with him next year.
Yeah, I think so. I'm one of the people who, I'm probably in a minority, that I was never too keen on John Sim.
I'm not huge on him. I think he's quite good, but I think I've said this before to you, aren't you? He's not one of my favourite.
He was my first introduction to the Master, so I've always got that kind of, like, that to me is, obviously it was a blank slate before I watched it. That's the Master.
I like him more in the Doctor Falls. Like, by the end of it, I feel like he's a bit more rounded, but I feel like at the start when he first comes in, they just kind of go, oh, be a bit of a dick. and kind of jump around a bit and stuff. And I don't like. To be honest, I don't like the ending of season 3 that much anyway. But I wasn't too keen on him. Loved Missy. Like Missy,
I think Missy is the best incarnation of the Roger Delgado. It always interested me. I thought those 2 minutes that you get with Derek Jacobi are really, really good.
Fantastic.
But unfortunately, but that's just because he's such a good actor. It's the equivalent of going, that bit with Ian McKellen was amazing. I can't believe I went to Ian McKellen because of that shite ITV sitcom, didn't I? Vicious.
Oh yeah. I always remember that Derek Jacobi shot. You know, where it's from Chantho's perspective.
Yeah.
It's like the cable, and he's like closing in on her.
And he's going, ooh,
terrifying.
Like he would have been a great master, but obviously he's just a cameo because it's Derek Jacobi.
You know, he's now designated within canon as the War Master, and
is that what he's called?
Yeah, so like opposite John Hurt, and then I think there's some. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's some Big Finish stories with Derek Jacobi.
I've heard that too.
He's the War Master.
You know who I'd always be really interested to see? We should listen to Neil's dad on The In-Betweeners being the master.
Yeah.
Because everyone says he's really good, but all I can think of
imagine
is
that.
Neil. Like, can you imagine just him being the
You're
master?
an exam tomorrow.
Got an exam tomorrow.
I put up that shelf, didn't I? Was that part of your exam? Oh yeah, it was 50% of it.
I keep meaning to listen to some of the Big Finish stuff, but
I've only heard Spare Parts, the Peter Davidson one, and it is really good. I only listened to that because people said that World Enough in Time was based quite heavily on it. And
We've got very thin walls in the flat, so I often hear Chris's Big Finish. But I haven't listened to any of the Doc 2 Big Finish.
oh my God.
At least you described it as big, you know.
Good night, Matt. Good night, Chris. Closes doors. Here's some shuffling. I'm like, what's going on in there?
What time period are you putting on that as well, between closing the door and the Big Finish?
About 12 seconds.
That's why he's got the nickname Rustlers at university.
Did I have the nickname Rustlers at university?
We just didn't tell you. No, you didn't really.
Well, I'm learning a lot. This is good.
I thought the production design on this episode was the best of the series.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, like the big cyber ship, and also the old timey Irish town. We should talk about that a little bit as well. We're kind of in agreement, aren't we? I think it's the Timeless Child, based off Chris. You mentioned that rumor before that the Timeless Child is unkillable, which we haven't confirmed yet, but that would tie into what we saw today.
I like the idea as well because they never aged, did they? I like this. I was saying this to you, but I can say it in more detail now because the episode's not airing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, so there's an episode of Rick and Morty where Morty puts on a simulator and he's playing a game and he lives out an entire life of an old man, but it only lasts like 5 seconds, but he still feels as if he's lived that entire life.
That?
Season 2, episode 2. It's the one with the giant green...
I don't remember it at all.
So they go and save that thing that's going to be assassinated, and it's like that giant green anamorphous blob. And it's like, I will destroy all of your universe at the end, and then they kill it, kind of thing. And it's got a Flight of the Conchords-esque song in it. But anyway, the point is that what I'm saying is I get this idea that they're like killing it repeatedly. Because he says it will, I'll erase your memory.
Yeah.
But they have to harvest something from it. So maybe it's like potential life energy by letting it say, live out a lengthy life.
Or do you think it's like
killing
data?
it, and then it's, just like it's living this constant cycle of lives. I'm just making this up on the fly, you know what I mean? But is that what it is? It constantly resets itself, but they're just giving it.
Well, no one else
like
is
the
aging, are
Angels.
they?
You know, the Weeping Angels, they harnessed what life could be. So maybe this is like the same process.
Do you think that town then is like maybe something akin to like the confession dial out of Series 9? So it's like in the inside, it's bigger on the inside, it's this town. Everyone else is a Gallifreyan. That's why when he sees them at the end, they're the same age. Because they, I mean, like Matt Smith aged like 200 years or whatever, and he'd look the same. And this Timeless Child keeps going through this like full life cycle. Then they kill it, or they reset it, and they're just running the numbers.
Is this going to be how they harness the kind of power of time, like regeneration?
Well, that's what the rumor was. That was what you read, wasn't it, Chris? That they're sort of trying to crack.
And so they're going to discover that their ability to do this is based on someone else's kind of entrapment. Yeah,
someone else's torture and pain. And that, to me, could all tie in with the Master post sort of having some redemption in the Moffat era. Finding out, everything about regeneration. And that's also kind of fits in with the line he says about, it's in me, it's in you, Doctor. If all of... what their society is built on is based on torturing this kid.
Yeah.
Then I could see him burning Gallifrey to the ground.
So where do we think Ruth fits in with that.
No fucking idea.
There is something that could work, but it would be a bit long-winded. Say the Time Lords got their power from an external source. What if this is a bit like a Tok'la thing, right? So that gate that they all went through, all those survivors from the Time Lords built a society from the Cyber Wars. Those refugees built a society from there. Because what are those people doing? Were they just chilling on Gallifrey? Especially because that guy says, "I've never seen it like that before."
Yeah.
The gate. What if they go through and it's like a feedback loop? They start Gallifrey. They steal all these powers, etc. But then I hate the idea that the Time Lords are humans who evolved beyond.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I think this is good or bad. I'm thinking, how can we neatly smash all these elements together to give us something that kind of works logically?
There's a lot of spinning plates, isn't there?
So I could see something like that the Time Lords are actually those refugees from across the galaxy from the Cyber War, got really technologically sophisticated, stole this timeless child. Master comes back, realises what all this is, burns it to the ground because he's like, "Ugh, this is gross," and then...
I could see that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's good. I don't necessarily think it's bad, but I'm like, that could tie all of this together.
I don't think we're going to get all the answers next week.
Is next week's just a standard 50-minute or 45-minute, or is it
sure.
not
60 minutes.
60
60?
minutes.
Oh, okay.
I think we'll get some answers, and then it'll all be kind of left to sort of thrust into Series 3 or Series 13.
Chibnall said in a press interview something to the effect of that the end of the series would leave you with a lot of questions about where the series will go. So I think we're going to get some revelations, and then maybe all the Doctor and the companions all fall out or something, and then you go, okay, how we get what the hell do we do now?
My worry is the whole episode's going to be a bit like Prisoner of the Jadoon, where even though I enjoyed that, it's not really a story in its own right. It's a series of reveals. I think it's going to be like payoff for like what was set up in this episode. Question, and then it's going to be over, and we just be left like, oh well, who knows for 18 months presumably. Who knows?
Well, how are they going to fit in a Christmas/New Year special in this without it being only about?
Well, that's Chibnall's master plan, isn't it? Because he wants to get rid of them. So conveniently, yeah, this year his excuse will be, well, we couldn't possibly do a special with all these story threads in the air.
I don't know. I thought they'd already done. I thought like there'd been shots of like Daleks or something in.
And Clifton's Suspension Bridge. Yeah, we will get a special. Yeah, me and Chris are just salty.
But I don't know how.
There was no
if this season is going to end with all these questions up in the air, like really heavy questions about the whole lore of the show. How can you then she can't do we'll ignore that for a bit. Let's just go away for a little adventure.
Well, I suppose.
They've already played that card a few times.
You know that Christmas special, is it The Widow, The Witch and Wardrobe? Whatever, you know the one I mean. That came off of a really arc-heavy finale that kind of left some questions open, and then they opted to have the Doctor sort of having a solo adventure, and he meets his one-off companion. So maybe they do something like that.
I know it's got Daleks in this New Year's special.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, to be honest, because we haven't seen Whittaker without these companions, would it? So, it'd be nice to see her.
So have they not been photographed in any of these leaked shots? Like it's
don't know.
No, it's just the Daleks. Okay. They were being filmed on like a bridge or something like that. I know there's gold-plated ones. There's like different ranks of them, but no, it's too. You know what? We'll find out next week. I know it sounds a bit but it's sort of this episode. I think ultimately that what makes it quite difficult to talk about is it's all set up.
Yeah.
It's literally going to be it's not watchable on its own.
We're just speculating, aren't we? Really?
Yeah, and I think it's very clear we really like the episode. I think it's one of my favourites of the season.
Yeah, same. And I really liked last week, and obviously that's kind of all tied together. So if next week ends strong, so solid finish, solid start.
This will be a very good series.
Yeah, because if you watch last week's, then the next two are good, you'll end up just watching all three in a row. Like I know that's what I'll do when I come to watch it again. Whenever they shove it on Netflix in a couple of years.
Did anybody notice that the Master said when he destroyed Gallifrey in the trailer for next week? He said, "Look upon my work" or something like that.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's a reference to Ozymandias, which is by Percy Shelley.
Because he says,
"I'm so certain."
He says the despair bit, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, look upon my work in despair. That's what he says. That's Ozymandias.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a neat little tiny little thing that I quite like with this series.
Well, maybe the Master is Shelley.
Oh, good lord!
Don't do it, Chibnall. Don't do it. You've got so much to live for.
Honestly, that's the issue though. Is I'm still that was really good and da da da. I could just still totally see and then the Sea Devils came, or something stupid. Like, you could just, it's just Chibnall. It's like, literally, this could be really good, but there's no point.
If he pulls it off, then he deserves for people, including myself, who have not been confident in him and have not given him any kind of accolades for running the show, to kind of go, yeah, okay, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it. Because he has done it. This season he has done it. He's done it so far. And yeah, I know what you mean about episode 5 kind of being a series of reveals rather than anything special. But I can't remember, apart from maybe Utopia, having a moment where I went, what the hell, as often as I did in the Jadoon episode. You can kind of go, oh, that's cheap, that's lazy. He's just like, oh, throw in a load of like mysteries. But just the way it's pulled off in that episode, and I didn't see it coming until they got to the lighthouse. Did I think, oh, hang on, maybe she's the Time Lord?
Would you say the way it was pulled off led to a big finish?
No, I wouldn't. No,
you wouldn't.
and the moment where she digs up and you just see that for POLICE, I genuinely was like, what the hell is happening? What the hell? And I can't remember a time since Who Came Back, apart from maybe Martha Sees the Fob Watch, of kind of thinking, oh my god, what is this?
Well, like the wool being pulled at the end of Spyfall as well, this series.
Yeah.
Him just being like, oops, I'm the master.
Did anyone expect the Master this year?
No. There were rumours going around that Sacha Dhawan
There's
had been
rumours
cast as
every
the
year, isn't
But
there?
this is the thing. And then when he was there as that companion, I was just like, oh, well, that was just people just saw him in a cool outfit.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to have him as a companion because they'd erased him. I noticed early because they had shots and I went, oh, they erased him from all the trailers.
Yeah.
But it still surprised me because I was like, there's been rumours he's the Master. And I knew that had been on the cards, but that episode fooled me into thinking, oh, that's just the equivalent of like Omega's back, and it's not actually Omega; it's something completely unrelated.
It was a great surprise.
People saying the Ragnas were back this year, and they weren't, etc., etc., etc.
Jack was a great surprise as well, and they kept that under wraps really cleverly by just having him in one room with the principal cast. Fantastic, and he's going to be back next year.
If this final episode is good, and I just mean good, not even amazing. If it's good, then I will give everything to Chibnall and kind of go, yeah, okay, you've earned the right to be the showrunner. Like,
I'm more trusting each time.
Yeah, tonight, that was better than I thought it was going to be. Like it was all set up, but it was really well done, paced set up, and like I say, the production values and everything. Even just that opening shot of the Cyberman's face and the way that it's just that's
and then
quality.
It goes into the vortex,
that was just
that was
an extra little sheen of like, wow, okay, yeah.
I really liked the flying cyber heads, as cheesy as they were.
No, they were quite funny. They're quite.
Yeah, they're cool. I'd like them to move a bit more in like kind of straight lines. Do you know what I mean? It's the way they're like swooping down like fighter jets, which I find really cheesy.
I just thought it was quite cheesy fun though. Like,
yeah,
quite good. Graham as well this episode again, just loads of fun.
Yeah.
Here's this thing. It's gonna bloody wreck the Cybermen. he's got game as well, hasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Bit of a charmer, our Graham.
Yeah, but that took him by surprise. I don't think he saw that coming. He was like, "Oh, okay, she's interested in me."
Yeah,
this is not
maybe
what
we'll see that
banked
play
on.
out next week, maybe.
Well, yeah. Is it not too soon? I mean, it's hard to know time-wise because it's been in a time machine. But is it not too soon since?
I don't know. The last time there was a bit of companion flirting was, in Dr. Falls when that lady's really into Nardole, and she's like touching his cup.
Ryan in Orphan 55?
Oh, that was a bit of flirtation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit. Kind of talking about losing family members or something way. Kind of that's flirting. But it kind of worked.
But I think overall, like it was just a really strong story this week. Again,
well, it's a strong half, isn't it?
Yeah, but
we'll see.
It's just always that endless debate of does a good first part. I mean, I don't like Day of the Moon, but I always credit Impossible Astronaut as one of the best openers. So it's like does a good first part.
It's different with that one though, isn't it? Because that's like I feel like that is a contained, satisfying story. Even though it ends on a cliffhanger, you get some bang for your buck with Impossible Astronaut, whereas this is all set up.
Also, I guess it depends on the quality as well. So, for example, I don't like Journey's End a lot, but Stolen Earth is so good. I'm not going to go, I'll never watch Stolen Earth again, because it's just awesome watching everyone team up and all the different things come into play. That it doesn't really bother me.
With Russell T Davies, I feel like he always makes, even those kind of icky finales which don't quite work, he makes them worth it with strong character moments like Journey's End. I always think of when he's in the rain, and Wilf's like, well, who's going to look after you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's I actually watched that recently. I was near tearing up. Yeah,
I'd watch it again for that scene alone. Do you know what I mean?
That and just the whole, she'll never know. When Wilf, that really depressing thing Wilf says, where he goes, she'll go back to how she was before she met me, and then he goes, but she was better. She was better. How depressing is that? Your own family are like, well, that's rubbish because she was she was rubbish.
It's I want to do a video on it eventually. It's a genius companion exit. I think it's one of the best companion exits because it's worse than dying, isn't it? Really.
Can I just say how awesome and wholesome is the bit though at the end of time, where she's like, a lottery ticket, and you can tell they're both like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, they have to be like, oh yeah, what a cheapskate. She's like, oh, a lottery ticket, what a waste of money. And you can see David Tennant just like.
I like to think in canon that she was actually like a lottery ticket and binned it. And then the next morning they were like, oh my god.
I wouldn't be letting her put that in her brassiere or wherever she puts it. You think I'd be like framing that straight away. Like, don't
take it, dear. You go off and enjoy your wedding. Meanwhile, someone get me a penny.
Gets the newsagents at 12 and second the results are called.
I guess it wouldn't be a scratch card, would it?
No, it was. It's a lottery ticket. I just love that though. Like that's so cheesy that he was like, oh yeah, here we go. I'll just get him a winning lottery ticket. But it's the fact that Wilf is like, oh my god.
Well, that's what makes him feel like a wizard, isn't it? When he does those like whimsical things of like, yeah, of course I could just get you a lottery ticket. I could change your whole life. If I just wanted to.
Yeah.
That fucking salute as well that Wilf does to him.
The meme.
I missed that. I missed that era so much.
Come on, guys. There's something wrong with the fact we've just slipped into RTD. Love. We just watched the Chibnall episode, but
I think RTD is tied for me now, just in my head, with Holmes and Hinchcliffe as the best era of the show.
I think he's got the strongest character work ever.
He knows how to do dialogue. Is what I always think of Russell T Davies. Whatever he writes, he understands how people talk, and he's able to turn it into a sort of poetry, which means you believe in the characters more. Like that's one of the reasons Roast kind of works.
Because I think Stephen Moffat is a very good dialogue writer. But I don't think he's good at dialogue in terms of realism. He's good at zippy one-liners.
He makes everyone the cleverest person in the room.
Whereas like Russell T Davies really nails. Like I always remember little things from the Davies era, like Donna being like, I just want a mate, and Donna being like, well, you're right, mating with me, sunshine. That is classic.
The bit I always like is when Wilf's like, I'll be proud. By the way, he's like, what do you mean? I'll be proud if I was your. No, is it Tennant says it, doesn't he? Wilf says to the Master, I'll be proud if I was his dad, and then. Later on, when they have a quiet moment alone, Tennant's like, I would be proud, by the way, if you were my dad.
Oh.
It's great.
You know what always gets
so
me, though?
Sweet.
Always gets me. It's that incredible moment in Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, where he's like, you don't get it, Lumic, because these humans, they're the key. I mean, even looks to the camera, an idiot can work with computers, and Mickey's like, I'm that idiot. And he's like, and he'd keep going just to save his friends, wouldn't he? That idiot up there, cracking the code. That always gets me, because it's like, he actually, as much as he like bullies Mickey 24/7, he's like, yeah, what a great guy in the end. And the Doctor ultimately changes Mickey for the better.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Mickey's one of the greats from the.
He really is. Yeah. I really miss him. Like he was just such a good presence on the show.
Him and Martha need to come back. It's a crime-fighting duo.
Someone said on Twitter as well, which I agreed with. They're the ones that you could realistically. They're the only two companions that you could realistically just literally put back in the show instantly.
Yeah.
Without any explanation. Like you can't do it with Rose. You'd have to get her out of the bubble universe. You can't do it with Donna. Can't do it with the Ponds because they're time locked. Can't do it with Clara. The only one that you could literally he could rock up, or she could rock up. Whoever is playing the Doctor at this point, and be like, "Hello, Martha."
I think they should do that.
If I was Martha, I'd be kind of insulted that she hasn't done that. Yeah, I'm still here. Come on.
Basically an indie unit / Torchwood, aren't
Maybe she pops in for a cup of tea sometimes and we just don't see it on the TV. Maybe that's what's happening.
Keith.
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Is this the end?
I think it is.
It is indeed.
Would you like to plug anything, really?
I don't have anything to plug, really. Me?
Twitter, maybe?
Yeah, just
or you,
at tweeting_Keith. Yeah.
Lovely.
I'm sure everybody knows that already. Like,
you are verified after all.
I'm sure everybody knows all of my thoughts about Doctor Who already. I've just been watching my tweets and Sonic.
And Christian, I suppose this week we should... What the hell? Let's plug our socials. We don't always do it, do we?
No, we don't actually.
It's at Full Fat Videos on Twitter.
At full_fat_videos for Instagram. And in the absolutely unlikely event that you somehow, and I think the odds of this are essentially zero, that you listen to this podcast but don't know that we're a YouTube channel. Maybe one person's listening like, oh, I love these Full Fat Boys. When did they pop up out of the woodwork? I don't think they do, but but let's say they did. It's youtube.com/fullfatvideos, and you can check out some cool videos.
Yeah, good videos.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah,
Do you think it's the kid at the back of the class, right? He's like trying to convince all the other kids he's cool, and he walks up to me, he's like, do you listen to the Full Fat Podcast? And they were like, Full Fat Podcast? It's Full Fat Videos, you loser. And then they like bully him relentlessly.
Wow, what a depressing...
I like this reality where we're like the talk of the playground.
I was going to say, you've just invented that universe.
No one's talking about us in the
The
playground.
narcissism was strong.